Hi, good evening, everyone. Today we're going to talk about term structure of interest rates. So, what is the term structure of interest rates? It is just the relationship between bond yields and its maturity. Now, you might ask, what is a bond yield and what is maturity? Maturity is a time when the principal from a loan or investment is repaid, and bond yield is simply widely known as interest rate or a percentage of the face value being paid every term. Next, how do we describe the relationship between the bond yield and the maturity? It is through the yield curve. It is a plot of interest rates for particular types of bonds with different terms of maturity but the same risks. Now, this is an example of a yield curve. These are examples of yield curves. Um, the upward slopes, the lines with having upward slope is a normal type of a yield curve, and the lines with a negative slope are abnormal ones. Since inflation does not decrease, it happens when there is an abnormal type of behavior in the market. And the gray one, which is a straight line but humped in the midterm, the behavior of the yield curves are just an explanation of the risks involved in the investment that you're in. So if it has a positive slope, like the normal one and the steep one, it means that there is a certain amount of risk every year until maturity. And if it is inverted, which is an abnormal one, it means that um, the risk of um, not having the bond is lower, uh, approaching to maturity. And in the flat one, which is humped, it just means that the risk is quite constant and it only behaves like having a hump if there is a change in the market. So what determines the shape of the curve? The shape of a curve is determined through this type of equation. For example, a T-bond yield or a treasury bond. A treasury bond is a type of bond for the funds in the government. Now, a treasury bond is just the R star plus inflation premium and maturity premium. The R star is the risk-free type of interest rate, and then inflation premium is the yearly inflation of goods, and maturity risk premium is the interest rate premium for the bond. So there is less risk in the T-bond yield compared to the next example, which is the corporate bond yield. It is the sum of the R star, inflation premium, maturity rate premium, and the default risk premium. The default risk premium is when the borrower will default, or when the borrower does not make scheduled interest or principal payments. So this type of risk can add to the slope of the curve in the corporate bond yield. And the liquidity premium, assets can be as liquid in a corporation because it's not secure. Assets can come and go, and which makes this type of bond riskier. So there is more risk in the corporate bond yield rather than a treasury bond because of its default risk premium and liquidity premium. Now lastly, we compare the, the corporate bond yield, the government treasury bond yield, and a corporate CC yield for a junk type of bond. So for government treasury, this is a normal type of yield curve, and we can see that a corporate AA investment grade type of bond has more risk than that of the government treasury, but less risk than the types like the junk type of bond rate.